Hey, good morning, everybody. We are here at the Lac La Biche County Fire Rescue Protective Services Building Station 1. My name is Chris Newick, and I'm the Fire Services Coordinator with Lac La Biche County. And we'd like to welcome you here to our very first Facebook Live event. With me today, I've got a small crew helping out. Behind the camera, I have Luke Muse with the Communication Department. And I got a couple of firefighters here as well. Jared Austin with the iPad from Station 4 in Rich Lake, and Mo McGraby from Station 1 out of Lac La Biche. They're gonna be keeping track of the comments and questions as they come in, and giving me a heads up if anybody's asking a question. So be sure to comment, ask questions through the app there. So behind me we have the fire services portion of the Protective Services building. Basically, the fire services part of this building has red over it. So on my left, this is Station 1 for Lac La Biche. And to my right here, this is our headquarters, our main administrative area. So we're actually going to head inside right now and take a look at the headquarters portion. So as you come into the building, first up, you're going to get greeted by Coco Buddy here, who's in his full turnout gear, including an SCBA pack and radio. Okay. And this is our main headquarters or administration for fire services. This is where I manage the fire department for Lac La Biche County. We have a couple of offices here, one for the chief. We have a file room. We have a small meeting room here. And then behind me, we've got washroom and a bit of a lunch area. On my left is the most important. This is the face that's going to greet you as you come into the offices. This is Cindy, our admin assistant. She runs the place. She keeps us in check, keeps everything in line. We'd be lost without her, to be honest with you. Behind us is Chief Cocatello. This is John Cocatello. He's our regional fire chief for Lac La Biche County. He's also the manager of protective services and the director of emergency management. So he has a couple of things on his plate. A little busy. All right. Before we head off to the floor, one last thing I'll mention about the admin side or the headquarters side is even though we're in offices here, you will see us out on the fire ground. It's not uncommon for myself or the chief to respond to emergency calls and to support the stations. Cindy will help out with emergencies, working behind the scenes. She'll make sure that the guys and the girls out on the fire ground are getting fed, making sure that they have everything they need out on the fire ground. So we're busy in the office, and we're busy out of the office. Let's head out onto the apparatus floor now. All right, so we're out here. This is the Station 1 portion of the building, on the apparatus floor as we call it. Normally you come into the station, we'd be coming in through this door right here. And when you come in, you're going to be greeted by these 4 window murals. And each of these murals represents one of our core values. This is what guides our department. And first and foremost, we have safety. Safety is at the core of everything that we do. We want to make sure that what we're doing it to the best of our abilities, as safe as we possibly can. And we want to create a safe environment for the citizens and the people visiting Lac La Biche County. This brings us to service. Ultimately, we provide a service to Lac La Biche County, to the citizens. And we are constantly striving to improve that service. We're asking ourselves, how can we do this better? How can we make this customer experience better than it was before? Now in the fire service, teamwork. Everything we do as a team. We never work alone. And actually, more than teamwork, the fire services is truly a family. We are there for one another on the scene and off the scene. Very common for firefighters to spend time together in the station, but also outside at home and other events. Our families support one another. It's a very tight-knit group. This leads into relationships. The relationships are extremely important. First and foremost, the relationships with our families. If it wasn't for the support we have of our families at home, our firefighters would not be able to show up day after day and do the job that they do to help ensure the safety of our community and our residents. So that relationship is extremely important. We value that. Additionally, our partner agencies, we would not be able to do the level of service that we have provided to the community of Lac La Biche if it were not for these partner agencies like the community peace officers, EMS, RCMP, and the number of mutual aid agreements that we have with our surrounding municipalities, Métis settlements, and First Nations. So these four values truly guide us through our operations. All right, so we're going to have a look now at the floor. We call this the floor. This is the apparatus floor. And this is where we have all the trucks. So I will make one mention. All of our trucks are facing the back right now. Typically the trucks will be facing back in front, but because our newly poured pad, which is beautiful, is not quite cured, we can't drive on it, we have everything lined up, so we're using the rear entrance right now. First up, we're going to see our ladder truck. Our ladder truck here responds primarily to urban response, so that's within Lac La Biche and Plamondon. It has a 75-foot ladder, which is capable of reaching up to the top of a 4 or 5-story building. Very useful apparatus, and it's great to see this out on the road, especially at parades. Beside me on this side, going from the biggest truck to the smallest truck, we have our SSV, or Special Service Vehicle, and it's equipped with a wildland skid for wildland emergencies. Excellent truck to respond to forest fires. This truck will also respond to medical emergencies. All right, now, as we move through the floor here, you're going to notice in between the bays, there are a bunch of lockers. And these lockers contain the gear for our firefighters. It has all their turnout gear. Now, that turnout gear, it may look a little different. There may be yellow, there may be black. It really doesn't make a difference. But what I will say is that turnout gear is organized a particular way for every firefighter. Our firefighters, when they arrive at the station, have to be able to get suited up and respond within minutes. We have to be quick, we have to be fast. They have their gear set up a particular way. So one of the rules in the station is you don't touch anybody's locker, you don't move stuff around on them. So when they come here, they know where everything is supposed to be and it's automatic for them. Even if it's 3 o'clock in the morning, they can get ready very quickly. All right, so next set of trucks that we have here. These are the engines, or maybe you heard of them called a pumper. This is your stereotypical fire truck. When people think of fire trucks, this is usually what you think of. This is the truck that responds to the majority of our calls. Right here we have engine 1. It's lined up, it's the first one out. This truck goes to nearly everything. It'll go to house fires, wildland fires, vehicle accidents, you name it, this goes. It's one of the most used trucks in the fire service. Behind it is another engine. The reason we have a second engine here, this is our spare. So we have a spare engine so that if an engine is out of service, let's say in Station 3 Hilo, if their truck has to go in for maintenance or service, this will go out to Hilo in its place. So we always have an engine in a station. If it's not required elsewhere, it sits here and it's ready to respond if we need it. Okay, we got another bank of lockers, and then we get to our tenders. Now, tenders are essentially water haulers. In Lac La Biche and Plamondon, we have a hydrant system. That hydrant system will supply us with water for fire suppression, like a house fire. But if we're responding to a call outside of Lac La Biche or outside of Plamondon, we need to bring water with us. That's why we have these tenders. They'll hold up to around 8,000, 9,000 liters of water in a load. This one here, tender 1. It's up at the front of the line, ready to roll for Lac La Biche. And behind us here, this shiny brand new truck just arrived last week. It's our brand new tender, newest unit to our fleet. It will actually be going out to Rich Lake, Station 4, to replace an aged out unit out there. We're just in the process of getting it set up, getting it equipped, getting the radio installed. So hopefully we'll see this out on the road and in the station in the next week or two. So before I get to the last bunch of apparatus here, I just want to talk about these lockers that are looking a little bare right now. We do have a few empty lockers, and this is my plug for recruitment. We are constantly recruiting. We strive to run 2 recruit classes every year, at least 1, and we have a new class that's going to be starting up actually at the beginning of August. We're very excited. coming out of COVID right now to be able to run a big class. So we are hoping that these lockers are going to be full with new recruits sooner rather than later. I will say we have a lot of opportunities within the department. It's not just about firefighters. We have positions for kids in high school. If you're between the ages of 15 and 18, we have a cadet program. And I'll tell you something, the cadets do everything but respond on calls. That includes going on training events like live fire training. Last summer, we had one of our cadets attend the live fire structural training. She was working side by side with our firefighters, going into the burn house and putting out structural fires in a training capacity. So as a cadet, you do it all. And once you turn 18, then you can transition to becoming a full firefighter and starting to respond as a firefighter on the trucks. Lastly, we have a support position. The support position is for people who aren't ready to make the commitment or don't think they want to be on the trucks as a firefighter, but they still want to be a part of the department. They would like to help their community out. That's our support position. So they help maintain the stations, help maintain the trucks. They help by bringing food, water, any supplies that are required out to the firefighters out on scene. And they're an integral part of our organization as well. So we got positions for everybody. If you're interested, get a hold of us. All right, last up, our last row here. So on my right, this truck is our rescue unit. So our rescue unit is rigged up and has a ton of equipment that's specialized for a variety of types of rescue. Probably the biggest one is motor vehicle collisions. So we have a variety of equipment on there. A common term that gets thrown around are the jaws of life. We don't call them the jaws of life, we call them hydraulics, cutters. We have all of those tools on there, plus a ton of other stuff that helps us with vehicle accidents, for angle rescue, elevator rescue, you name it, we've got it on this truck. And then here, to my left, is one of 4 trailers that we have in our fleet. This trailer is a multi-purpose. You can see we've got a UTV in there with a tub, and this is set up for backcountry rescue. So if we have to do a backcountry rescue, this is the unit that will go. We have wildland gear on there as well, but this unit will also double as a mobile command post, and more importantly, a rehab unit. So if we're out on a big structure fire on a hot day, we can pull this out. It's got an AC unit. The firefighters can go in there, cool down, get rehydrated, have a rest before going back in. Okay? So, as you can see, we've got a lot of trucks, a lot of different trucks, a lot of different gear, and a lot of different equipment. And our firefighters are expected to respond to a variety of calls. That's very demanding. And I'm going to say on top of that, our firefighters are paid on call. So what that means is the majority of them, they have day jobs. They're working. They have families. They're not here all the time. And so they have to leave wherever they are to come in here and respond. They have to be prepared to do that task and to do it safely. So they train. They train all the time. As a recruit, you go through roughly 60 hours of training over 3 months before you're allowed to respond or even train with your station. We make sure that you have the skills that are necessary to do the jobs that you're going to be required to do. Once you hit the floor, once you have a locker, then you train every week. You train some weekends because you're learning new skills and you're maintaining those skills that you have so that you can ensure to be able to provide the service to our community and to provide it safely. So Mo's got his gear laid out here, and he's going to demonstrate for us the donning or putting on of your typical turnout gear. He's got his jackets, boots, even the SCBA. And normally he'd be getting dressed out of his locker, but his locker's tucked around the back there and we can't really easily get to it. So Mo, when you're ready, he's going to be doing this, and he's going to do it at real time. And the most important thing about our turnout gear is that we put it on properly. Secondly, we put it on quickly. It has to be on properly because we cannot have any exposed skin while we're working. So he's got his boots, he's got his pants, he's got that balaclava over his head. Now he's getting his jacket on, and he's very quickly getting himself covered up and prepared for a structural firefight. Next, we're moving on to his SCBA. So he's got an SCBA, and SCBA stands for self-contained breathing apparatus. So he has his mask, and that mask is airtight. You'll also notice with firefighters, we're always clean shaven. We're clean shaven because we're required to have a seal with that mask. We can't have any hair down below the chin line. The bottle on that pack, some people think it's full of oxygen. It's not oxygen, it's just compressed air. We have a compressor and a fill station at the back of the building here. It draws air in from outside and fills those tanks. I should have timed this. See how fast he was. All right. So typically when we do these tours at this time of the year, we would be having school groups into the station, which we absolutely love, and disappointed that we haven't been able to do it for 2 years now. So we can't wait till we have you in again. But the message that we would say to those school groups, especially the younger kids, is Mo, as he gets into his gear here, he starts to look a little intimidating, a little scary. You can barely see his face. But at the end of the day, it's the same guy under that mask. And if you see someone dressed like this, they're there to help you. Underneath all of this, take it off. Underneath all of this is that same person, right, who's just there, and their job is to help you. Right? And there he is. Same guy underneath all that gear. Awesome. Thanks, Mo. Let me get cooled off. All right, so before we go into the back, we got a couple more bays to check out. I just want to make note, we do have some more lockers here that are a little empty. These lockers are for our recruits. So by the beginning of August, they're all going to be full of the next class that's getting trained up so that they can join the crews on the floor. All right, so into the back here, we have an inventory storage area. We need to ensure that we have all the supplies that are going to be required for us to perform our job, to provide that service to the community. We're very fortunate to have a well-organized, well-laid-out, well-stocked inventory room. I'd like to throw a huge shout-out to the staff that came and helped us in the Bold Center this weekend. I'll be honest, this area would not look as good as it does if it was left up to us. They came in, they were very meticulous, detail-oriented. Everything in here is organized, it's labeled, it's very easy to work in. So thank you very much. We're very appreciative for all the help that we got from everybody who came and helped us with this. So thank you. Next, we're going to head back out and have a look at our last bay here. You'll see that this is our ice rescue gear. Got some ice suits, life jackets, and specialized equipment. And this is our last bay, and this is our air maintaining gear and equipment. It's not big enough. We're not going to get a fire truck in here, maybe the SSV or a pickup truck, but really what this is intended for is maintaining our gear and our equipment. We get exposed to a lot of toxic chemicals, not just in fires, but on motor vehicle collisions, and we need to make sure that we keep everything clean. We need to keep it clean for our safety and for your safety. So we can see guys are working through washing their gear right now. We got a few washers and dryers in the back of these for that. We have specialized equipment for drying and washing our hose and other gear. But that's essentially what this bay here is for. This is kind of like our wet, dirty area. Okay. I'll head back over to the main floor. All right, so the last thing I want to show you from the floor is the bathroom. And our bathrooms are a little bit different here. Aside from the usual showers, washrooms, sinks that we would expect to see in a bathroom, we actually have some beds at the back. And the guys, which we're in right now, is just a little bigger than the girls. So we have 4 beds here in the men's washroom. The girls has 2. It's a little bit smaller. And the reason we have the beds is to give the firefighters a place to rest. They may get back from a call. They've been out all night, and it's 4:30 in the morning. They can have a shower. They can lay home and waken up their families at that early hour. They can go back and meet them for breakfast later on in the morning. A well-rested firefighter is a safe firefighter, and we need to look out for them. That's the space. When we do station tours, we have school groups. That's what they're going to see. They want to see the trucks. They want to see the gear. They want a flow of water. But we're going to actually head upstairs now. This is an area that the public doesn't get up to see. This is an area for the firefighters. So let's head on up and have a peek at what's upstairs. Okay, so we're going to head over here to the left first. So in here we have our training room. This room is used by Station 1, Lac La Biche. They use this for their weekly training. They use this for their weekly meetings. Headquarters, we use this for regional training that takes place on the weekends. Our recruit training program is run out of here. So this training room, we're very fortunate to have such a wonderful facility. It is well used, well designed. We're very happy with it. At the back, small office back there, that's our station office where the firefighters, not just from this station, but any station, can come and use that office for completing reports and doing any filing, any computer work that's required. We're going to head across the hall, kind of through our rehab. We're going to skip over the rehab area. We're going to go through these double doors here. So we got a small space here, and as you can see, we use it for storage and cleaning supplies, a little bit. But the thing I want to talk about is this wall. So we had requested the wall's going in, let's put some windows in, since the wall's going up anyways, and it allows us to do a training that up until now we have not been able to do safely. So with having these windows up at a 2-story height, we can now practice doing skills such as 2-story ladder rescues. We can do it safely using harnesses and ropes. So this gives us an opportunity to practice a skill that will allow us to provide an enhanced service to the community and for our members to train safely. Okay, so we're very excited to have the opportunity to use something like this. Okay, so back into the rehab area. So our rehab area is an important part of the station. The intent of the rehab area is to provide a space, an area for the firefighters to come together, to eat meals together, full kitchen here, but more importantly to decompress. We attend some very difficult and challenging calls from time to time. And I'll be honest with you, after a call, you may not be ready to go back home to your families or out to the public. And you need that time by yourself. You need that time with your peers, with your fellow firefighters. So this is an area that they can come, they can be together, and they can talk about it and decompress. The big table in front of me here. All right, so I'm going to talk about this for a second. This is a big, and it is a heavy table. I think Mo can attest to that. We carried this up here last week. This table, we worked with the local high school, J.A. Williams High School. They took a number of old heavy timbers that we had in a trench rescue that we were not using, and they constructed this massive table for our space here. We are very excited to have it here. We're very fortunate, and would like to just do a quick shout out to J.A. Williams High School, all the staff, the students that worked this last year getting it done. Not only was it a big project, but they had to work through the challenges of COVID. I know they were shut down a number of times, but they managed to get it done before the end of the school year, and we got it up in place here. So thank you very much for that. Every one of our firefighters who has seen this has been excited about it. Everyone's very appreciative. Perfect. So I think actually this is a good place for us to maybe take a break, sit down, and answer any of the questions that we might have had come across. So Jared's giving me the thumbs up there, so he's got some questions. What do we got?
So we have one question from Charlotte Moore who would like to know if this video will be saved to be watched later.
Absolutely. Luke's giving me the head nod there. So my understanding is once we're done, this gets posted to the Lac La Biche County Facebook site, and it will be accessible for everyone to access and hopefully share as well. Let's promote this around. Awesome. Perfect. We had a few other questions I actually got emailed in ahead of time, so I'll take a look at these ones. We had a question here, how many calls do we go on? So I'm assuming that means like emergency calls. How many emergencies do we go on? Lac La Biche County Fire responds to, on average, just over 300 calls a year. So those calls could be structure fires, vehicle accidents, false alarms, but just over 300 that our firefighters respond to. Another question we had here is, how many firefighters are there? Well, we have a total of 63 staff. So Lac-La-Biche County Fire Rescue has 63 staff. Now, of those, 3 of them are the headquarters. So that's myself, Chief John, and Cindy. 8 of them are support staff. We have 5 cadets currently. So remember, cadets, those are between the ages of 15 and 18. And that makes up 47 firefighters. Okay, so that's between all 5 of our stations. And actually, that's something else I'll talk about too right now that I haven't mentioned, is we are a regional organization. So Lac-La-Biche County Fire Rescue, it really truly is a regional department. We are consisted of 5 stations. So we have this station, Station 1 in Lac-La-Biche. We have a Station 2 in Plamondon. We have a Station 3 in Hilo. Station 4 is in Rich Lake. And Station 5 is in Elk River. So they're not separate departments. They are all the same department, Lac-La-Biche County, but separate stations. And we work together on everything. Someone had a question here. How do you apply? This is a question that we get all the time. The easiest way to apply, honestly, is to give us a call, to send us an email, stop by the building, knock, and we'll get you the information. I believe there is a way, and I'll get the communications. We'll post it on the Facebook as well. We'll get that link up there, so you can click on the link on the Lac-La-Biche County Facebook as well. Click the link and you can apply, whether it be for the cadet, the support, or the firefighter. Lots of opportunities there. This is a good question. This came from one of the kids, I think. Can anybody drive the trucks? Kids always want to know that question. Who gets to drive the trucks? Can anybody just drive a truck? Well, no, not anybody can drive the truck. So there's a couple of things. First of all, most of our trucks, pretty much all of our trucks except for the pickup trucks, the SSVs, you need something called a Q endorsement. They have air brakes. So it's an additional level of training that you're required to have before you can even get behind the wheel of them. So once a firefighter has that Q, then they get trained on specific trucks. Every truck drives a little different. And the example I like to give to kids or even teenagers, driving a little hatchback is different than driving a big F-350. They handle differently. Our tender will drive differently than our aerial will. So every firefighter gets trained on every truck once they have the Q. Okay? Jared has a question.
Yes. Beck Kirk would like to know, how long is the usual response time to a structure fire?
Oh, that's a hard question to answer. Who is that?
Beck Kirk.
Okay. So, if it's in town, and by in town I mean if they're responding to a structure fire that's within a hamlet of Lac-La-Biche or Plamondon, I'd have to pull the stats to get an accurate answer, but typically the response is around 8 to 10 minutes. And you have to remember, that's the time from when we receive the phone call. So someone has to call 911. 911 gets that call, and they have to figure out where is that call located and who do they get responding. Is it Lac-La-Biche County? Is it Athabasca County? If it's Lac-La-Biche County, which station are they sending? And then we get dispatched. Our firefighters get notification. They each have a radio. It comes across their radio, lets them know that there's a call and they have to respond. They also get a message on their phone through an app. They have to get ready, get to the station, get suited up, get in the truck, and get to the structure, the house. So that 8 to 10 minute average is from the time they're dispatched. So them leaving their house. If it's a rural location, it really depends on where it's located. Lac-La-Biche County is a very large geographic county. And although we have 5 stations strategically located throughout the county within residential areas, some of our areas are fairly remote. And it might take a little bit more time to get to them than it would be within a hamlet of, say, Lac-La-Biche or Plamondon. Okay? So another question I have is, what kind of gear do we have? What kind of gear? And I'm assuming that question was, what do we wear? So we got to see Mo get dressed in your stereotypical firefighter gear, his turnout gear. And that's gear that we wear the majority of the time. But I'm going to tell you something. When you're going to a wildfire and it's 30 degrees outside, you definitely do not want to wear that. It's far too hot. So we have different gear. Every firefighter does get issued turnout gear. But they also get issued a set of coveralls. And they're fire-rated coveralls for wildland fire. You saw the ice rescue suits as we walked by the inventory bay there. So that's a specific gear that we have for that type of an incident. And we have hazmat suits. So if we're dealing with a chemical spill, we have different types of hazmat suits. So our firefighters, I guess I can answer that, get 2 sets of gear, turnout and wildland. And then we have general specific gear that the firefighters can use for a variety of, whether it's ice rescue or hazmat. And another question I had here was, does everybody do the same job? And the easiest answer to that is yes and no. Yes, because every single one of our firefighters has to be able to perform the base level of service. So Lac-La-Biche County Fire Rescue has a level of service. We've said these are the services that we are going to be providing to Lac-La-Biche County. That means that if you're going to be a firefighter, you have to be able to do that skill. We also have extended services. And those are services that if we are able to provide it, then we definitely will provide it. But it has to be the correct conditions. And I'll give you an example of that. And that might be structure firefighting. So if we pull up to a structure and there's very little fire, and if we have firefighters that are trained to go into that structure and we have all the resources, they will. That's additional training that our firefighters have. Now, if we pull up and we do not have the resources required, or if the fire is too large, then we wouldn't be able to do interior. So we have our base level of training and we have an extended level of training. And the majority of our firefighters do train to that higher level so that they are prepared to do that job should they be called on it. Okay. Awesome. Well, I think this is probably a good time for us to wrap up. I want to start by thanking the crew that was here helping out today, Luke, Jared, and Mo. More importantly, I want to thank everybody for tuning in and Lac-La-Biche County for supporting us. We're very fortunate to be able to continue to provide this service to the community. We are looking forward to doing more of these tours in each of our stations. In fact, we'll be in Plamondon this Friday doing a bilingual tour at 11 o'clock of Station 2, the Plamondon station. And we're looking forward, hopefully in the near future, to welcoming everybody back to our stations in person once we're able to open up again. And in fact, here to be able to do a grand opening at some point in the near future. So thank you to everybody who tuned in today. If you have any future questions, continue to comment and we'll do our best to get back to you and answer those. But for now, we're going to say thanks, good day, and we'll see you on Friday.